And there is a direct tie-in, I think, between the Grateful Dead and neurodiversity, which is, besides the fact that over the years, I noticed that many of the most fanatical tape collectors, like the people that could name, the dates of certain jams or had like literally, I've seen apartments where virtually every wall was covered by cassettes. I miss cassettes. Anyway, many of those people looking back, or not many, but several, would have been diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome later. But the Asperger's syndrome diagnosis wasn't introduced until really the early 90s. But the guy, sort of the heart of the whole Grateful Dead scene, who I believe was on the spectrum, was Owsley Bear. He was the guy who both really invented modern concert amplification. Like when Bear came on the scene with the Dead, concert amplification was terrible. It was basically sort of voice of the theater speakers, and it was Bear who really worked out what we now think of as modern concert sound. He also insisted that the Dead tape every performance, in part so they could listen back afterwards and improve their playing, but it ended up becoming this incredible archive, which we now all enjoy on archive.org in part, of all the tapes of their recordings. But I actually spent time with Bear, and he was an extraordinarily eccentric person, as everyone who knows about him knows. He not only made the best LSD ever made, like better than Sandoz Laboratories, it actually tested purer than Sandoz. And I think that was because he was so exacting. And he was exacting and very willful about everything. He was exacting about the incredible sound amplification system that he developed, which eventually became known as the Wall of Sound. It was kind of completely impractical in a way because it was so huge and they needed like two different crews running in parallel to set it up. But it was unbelievable. It was like the purest concert sound anybody had ever heard. And he was equally exacting about his espressos. He stayed at a hotel that a friend of mine worked at, and like after the first morning, Owsley stayed there for a month. After the first morning, he wouldn't let anyone make his own espresso except him. He would go behind the counter, and he only ate meat. He was like the anti-vegetarian. So he was very willful and very exacting, but he really helped give the Grateful Dead the technical means to become majestic. And also, he gave them the means in the recordings to make it into the future with all this great music.